This file is to provide you with some information on basic functionality of 3M once you are in the 3M encoder to begin coding a patient. This is the screen that you see when you first log in. The default is to female. The default admit and discharge day is the day that you happen to be working in 3M. You do need to enter an age of a patient or a birth date. If you do not have the age in the documentation, the case, the exercise that you are working from, please enter an age that happens to be over 65. You can change the admit and discharge date if you need to for some reason based on your documentation, or you can leave it as it is. You also need to make sure that your product finder is DRG finder because we are using MSDRG for this course. If you wanted to change the product, once you move into CPT, you could change it to HCPCS CPT finder, then that would give you CPT codes for the procedures. You could also do code finder. Code finder will give you the codes, but it will not give you DRGs. APC finder will give you the APCs, which is for outpatient, but for MSDRG, you would have it at DRG finder. You would leave the group for Medicare, hit the word continue. If you're in DRG Finder, the next screen you will get will be the disposition screen, the patient's discharge. Where did the patient go upon discharge? Most of the time you will choose home self-care. If you are given other information in your documentation, then you can change that. But if you are given no information, you can presume it was home. Then you are at an enter keyword or code screen. This is very similar to entering in the keyword or looking up the keyword in the hard copy. So if the documentation in front of me says that this patient had a myocardial infarction, I'm going to enter the keyword or part of it, infarction, myocardial, current, and non-QA. Again, this is all based on the documentation in front of me. If you don't have specified, initial, or subsequent, you could use unspecified, just as you would if you were coding it in a coding manual. This documentation did specify initial, doesn't say anything about TPA, so I'm going to use unspecified. It brings me up the code 41071. 3M does not include decimal points. If you needed to add a diagnosis, you would hit add diagnosis. This patient has unspecified hypertension. And I make those choices based on that. If I had a procedure, I would hit add procedure. And this patient had a heart cath. Again, I'm making my choices based on the documentation in front of me, and if the menu options are not in my documentation, I would choose unspecified. Once I have completed coding, I would go continue. Now, if I wanted to add a diagnosis or add a procedure, I would choose those options here. But if I'm done with this particular patient and now I want to get the DRG information, I hit the word continue, and then I hit the word compute. And 3M will give me the DRG information. For this particular patient, the DRG is 287. That is the DRG number. The MDC, major diagnostic category, is 005. The average length of stay is 3.2 days. The weight for CMS for this particular DRG 287 is 1.0879. Then if you wanted to move to the next patient and continue, you would hit next patient and go and do the same thing for the next patient.